Three, two, one. Hello and welcome to F1000 Live. We're teeing up the Mexican Grand Prix. I'm Chaps. I'm back with Mike for the
Hey,
Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez.
oh my. Just, I think you don't ever. If anybody who speaks any Spanish is listening, they're just
I mean,
eyes are
that was
rolling
pretty
back.
good.
Was it
That was
good?
pretty good. Rodriguez. No, that was not good.
Oh no. Oh
I had,
no. Yeah.
there was a few takes in the lap breakdown where I tried that. Not gonna happen.
It didn't work out, eh? Yeah.
No.
Okay.
So welcome Sunday morning here in Canada. We're teeing up the race. Mike, as always, let's start with the track, and I'm gonna go right off the bat.
Yeah.
What's unique about Mexico? The altitude.
Right.
This is the highest above sea level that we go all year, 2,200 meters. Now stick with me because we're gonna do some quick math to kick this off early in the
Sure.
morning.
Here
Get
we
your
go.
coffee and tea going.
Yeah.
2,200 meters above sea level. The math in the physics is that every 100 meters you go up, you lose 1% of air density. So the
Right.
engine needs to work 1% harder for every 100 meters. The engine needs to work 22% harder this weekend.
Yeah.
There's 22% less downforce available to the teams. And what that means is all of the teams are now running a maximum downforce package similar to the Monaco package because they need that downforce to stick to the track, but it doesn't ultimately ruin their top speeds because there's just no air.
Just no drag. Right? Like there's no drag effect because there's just no air. Right? I guess that's kind of the simple way to look at it is like low air density, low air pressure. Just there's no air. Right?
There's just
There's
no air.
no there's less air at high elevations. And so that I think we saw even in practice, and we saw in well, I guess it was just the practice sessions that can mean that brakes and engine components are struggling to remain with optimal temperature because your power unit and your brakes have to. It's harder to cool your brakes because there's less air to cool your brakes. It's
Yep.
harder for components of your power unit to work as they were designed because again there's less air, right? And that I think chaps what this does. And we've kind of always touted this as our primary focus when we're trying to cap a race.
Hmm.
It really points to reliability being maybe the most important factor today, right?
More
Without a
like
doubt.
we
Yeah,
put that as the most important factor on a normal day.
I know.
It is tenfold today,
Yeah,
10x today.
yeah. 10x today, I agree. So I don't want to stop you from going through the track. I think, did you want to get into talking about low grip in turn one? What do you want to get into?
Well, so it's very interesting because with the altitude, so where the grip gets affected is there's less downforce available to the cars.
Yeah,
They did make comments about how the track kind of flips on its head from a rear limitation to a front limitation depending on just
yeah,
how
it's
hot it
interesting.
is.
Yeah, it's
So
kind of track temperature has a big say in that, which is kind of interesting. Even like they were saying that something as simple as like cloud cover can change track temperature like drastically by like 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, which is kind of crazy to think
and
about.
then all of a sudden that's going to put the stress on the fronts instead of the rears.
Yeah, it's
Which
that's yeah, which is interesting. Or like that, I don't know if you could. It's tough to really factor that into some of the choices when I think really reliability, like we talked about, is still going to be the dominating factor in the decisions that we make. But that certainly is
yeah.
an interesting wrinkle when you talk about this like specific track, right?
Well, and I think the altitude it's potentially a great equalizer here. Specifically, if we're looking at the top three: Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull.
Yeah,
Mercedes clearly lacks the straight line speed. Their car is just too draggy. It has
yeah,
too much natural downforce.
yep,
When all of a sudden, with less air, that drag becomes a less important factor on the straight.
mm-hmm.
I think we see Mercedes come a lot closer to the top speed and the overall lap speed of the Ferrari and the Red Bull. Um,
Yeah, they were still they were still off the pace in terms of what I was looking at in terms of the actual race simulation pace.
okay.
They were in a range behind Red Bull and Ferrari that was similar to what they looked like in Singapore, which of course, like we talked about, is more of a downforce oriented track
Yep.
a couple of weeks ago, right? The boding well for them is that there are a lot of low speed corners on this track, and they were doing extremely well, extremely strongly. I think they had a significant advantage in the low speed corners, and they weren't very far behind on the high speed corners. I think they might have been leading high speed corners and low speed corners, which is
So-
key. That's clearly a reflection of the natural downforce of the car.
So you're exactly right. The way that their lap comes together is pretty consistent with how we've seen them go this year. They're
Yeah.
faster than the Red Bull and the Ferrari in the slow speed and some of the high speed corners. Usually they would just lose all of that advantage on whatever straight comes with the lap.
Yeah.
But here in Mexico, because the drag has less of an effect, they're not
Yeah.
losing as much on the straights. So their lap time, I mean, they had a chance at pole yesterday, realistically.
Which they haven't even come close, essentially, right?
No.
Through most of the season, unless there's been some sort of mitigating factor for the Ferraris and for the Red Bulls that's taken them out of pole contention, right?
Which Lewis was very forthcoming last weekend in
Yeah.
America when everyone said, Lewis, you had a chance to win here. You know, could you have won? He goes, guys, Leclerc had a penalty. He was out of the way. Sainz got yeeted in turn one. He was out of the way. I mean, we had a chance, but those two cars in front of me, I probably don't have that chance.
No, and then he also finished 5 seconds behind Max. Essentially, Max built a 5-second lead in like 3 laps, and we talked about this in our show. Like he would have gone plus 10 seconds for the win easily without the multiple safety cars and the 11-second pit stop. So yeah,
Right.
like this is I would say for the first time, and we love the Mercs. I mean, we've been on Mercedes
Love
multiple
the Mercs.
times, pretty well every week. We've taken them because of the reliability. So maybe, okay, how about we set this up, chaps? Let's talk about it because we've teed up how altitude is going to impact reliability.
Mm-hmm.
I truly think, and maybe you agree with me or maybe you don't. I would say that the theme for this week and the theme for our selections could be who's going to win the battle of attrition. Right? Like, I don't know if I necessarily even care too much to be looking at a winner. Obviously, we could be picking top 3s and top 6s and maybe both cars in the top 10s. We always like those bets. But I really like just picking who's going to finish. And when you look at the grid and you look at let me go through this quick math here in my head. So you've got 4 constructors that have Mercedes power units. Williams, Aston Martin, McLaren, and Mercedes.
Over the course of the season, the most reliable power unit.
It's not even a question, right? You've got Alpine has the Renault engine, the Renault power unit.
Yep.
You've got AlphaTauri and Red Bull with the Red Bull power unit, and you've got Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, and Haas with the Ferrari power unit.
Yep.
So I think it's pretty simple. Like, if you're looking on both ends of the battle of attrition, you're looking to take either the Mercedes or the Red Bull power unit in bets that you need results with. And if you're fading, then you take one of the Ferrari power unit cars, right? And
now,
does that make sense to you?
Yeah. So it makes total sense. And on Tuesday this week, I mean, you and I were texting. This has been a lean in the making since Austria, 10 weeks ago.
Yeah.
When we saw altitude, and we rightly predicted that Sainz had an old engine and might not make it through the race, and he finished in a cloud of smoke. Does it concern you that some of these issues that we were expecting came in the practice sessions? So now Magnussen has his new engine.
What I think it does, So here's what I think it does. So we know Leclerc and Zhou took grid penalties last week. So you've got Sainz. So let's do just the math in the end. Ends up being you eliminate Leclerc, you eliminate Zhou, you eliminate Magnussen. So if you're fading, you're either fading explicitly single drivers. You're fading Mick Schumacher. You're fading Bottas, which would be hilarious. Like, that would be the most Bottas thing, is that he starts 7 on the grid, has a great qualifying session, his engine blows up. I mean, that could easily happen. Or you're fading Carlos Sainz, who just in general has had some of the worst luck I've ever seen for anybody in a single season.
Well, and those two starting, are they, so 2, 4, they're on the grid beside each other.
They're on the same row. Yeah. Which, man,
both have been at turn 1 magnets.
Yeah.
Checo's right in front of them, defending for his life.
So how do you, I don't know, like, does that, maybe, not to start jumping into the book right away, but, like, is it not, I don't know if you'd want to fade the I think I would just stay away from them just in general, only
The
because
Alpines, I don't have a great rate on the Alpines, and
no,
historically, a lot of their issues have been more hydraulic than power unit related.
I agree.
So I don't know. I mean, does the altitude ruin the hydraulics? They haven't talked about it as much as it
No,
ruins.
I haven't seen that.
cooling.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen that. Yeah, but I
You
would
know,
still in the battle again in the battle of attrition, I would be more confident on the positive side to choose a Merc or a Red Bull power unit, right? Like that's kind of I'm just throwing out like high level strategy for when we look through
I
the
agree
book,
with
right?
you on a
Yeah,
high level. Yeah.
yeah,
I
right.
mean, I'm starting to kind of jump into the book.
That's okay.
The
Yeah,
Alpines, both
let's
in
do
the
it.
10. Is it to be classified Alpines, or is it a both top 10 with the Alpines where they just hold their position? I mean, okay, so right off the top, do we think Bottas stays up there, or is he just good on Saturdays and he either gets
I don't
gone
think
in
so.
turn one with contact like he did last year, or his
Yeah.
engine blows up, or just overall race pace?
I
Alfa
think
Romeo's not
it's
up.
extremely no. I mean, the Alfa Romeo. I think it's been well documented what happened with them and why their performance has fallen off so significantly through the rest of the season. They had the lightest car to begin the
Right.
year, right? I mean, it's pretty simple, right? They were the closest to the minimum weight threshold, and over the course of the year, with all the upgrades that every single car has introduced, they've been able to lighten their packages, and they've just Alfa Romeo essentially has fallen back to the field, right? Like that advantage that existed at one point because of the lightweight nature of the vehicle is gone. So, like, is this an aberration that he qualified in seventh? I would think so, probably, right? Like, I don't see that he's going to hold that position, and there's a very good chance that something happens with his power unit. I would think, right?
Or just racing related. Like
Or
I'm
just
really
of
worried
course,
about
yeah.
his
No,
his
like,
position on the grid right now
yeah, yeah.
because
No,
Leclerc is going to be pushing from behind. That turn one's very important.
it is, yeah, it is.
The last two races have been won by third place. I'm not sure if you saw that, but for the people that
So that's
something that's in
yeah.
my head.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. So the turn where it's like an 800-meter run from the
Yeah.
starting line to turn, that's a significant run
It's
down
a
to turn one,
significant run to
right?
turn one. Now,
So yeah,
we are in a different era. The cars, the slipstream has less of an effect this year because in general it's easier to follow cars.
it does,
So
but
in
it
the
still
past
it
year,
still has an effect though. Yeah,
we also last year. I mean, if we're just going to go last year to this year, the Red Bull and the Mercedes were way closer in overall speed. So Verstappen starting in third, if they're equal and then you just give him slipstream, yeah, he probably does get the advantage. Maybe today, is it just that slipstream brings the Merc to an equal speed with the Red Bull, and then we're relying on driver skill to make that move instead of just like Verstappen went around the outside. By
Yeah.
the time they got into turn one, he was just clear of them last year.
I look at it as though Checo in fourth place has the advantage from a slipstream perspective. Where like I don't know if the Mercs really have the straight line speed to even take it. So there's two factors that are, I guess, hurting their ability to take the turn one lead, and I think one of them is, of course, like you said, the fact that the cars themselves, the way that they're designed this year, you don't get the same level of tow, and then also the fact that they don't have the same straight line speed as Red Bull. But then when you talk about Checo behind the Mercedes going into turn one, he enjoys the benefit of the straight line speed and will get, I guess, the maximum amount of tow because he's faster than the cars in front of him.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a thought that I had noted, right, that we could just consider.
I like the Mercedes, but this is why we hop on a call and talk about it.
Yeah.
George Russell struggled all weekend with his brakes in turn one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every practice session he was on, guys, the brakes aren't working, and he locked up in turn one a lot. Couple that with the Mercedes, if they do have an Achilles heel, it's warming up the tires this year.
Yeah, big time.
Does George Russell just... I don't know.
Okay. Maybe let's quickly just turn it. Let's
I like
try
Lewis in turn one. I guess where this is all buttoning up with me is I really like the ability for Lewis to take advantage of turn one and then hold on to that potential lead through sector two of the first lap, where it does get curvy, windy, high speed corners where if you look at the breakdown of the sectors from the qualifying laps, Lewis and George were purple in sector two in every session. And then the Red Bull had them in the first and third sectors, but they were like 2/10 up in that second sector, and that's where it's windy, where the downforce has the biggest impact. I say that to say if one of them can take the lead out of turn one, we're used to Max just pushing back and getting it in turn two. I think they could potentially hold on if one of them gets it out of turn one. They could hold on to it.
So what is that? What are the odds for lap one lead? Like
Lewis
if it's
Lewis is plus 450.
That's an interesting bet. I mean, that's
Now
not a bad.
I'm jumping to the flyer, but I have that start as a flyer.
It's not
the
a
last
bad
2 years,
flyer
third
bet.
place won it. Now,
Yeah.
Mike, we're data. We have our spreadsheets. We want to do data, but there is a human element to this.
Oh, I agree.
Lewis
Yeah.
Hamilton is fucking pissed off this weekend.
Oh, he
His
wants to. He thinks he's gonna,
post-quali,
he wants to win.
everyone angled it as what went wrong with you that went right with George and Mike. They are 5 thousandths of a second apart.
5,000ths.
Yeah. And he wouldn't even comment in the standing post-race interview. Oh, what can you learn from George? My laps were great. Like, he didn't even say, oh, George, maybe I'll review the video. He didn't even comment on George.
No,
This guy is pissed, and I think he's going for it in turn one.
I like
He's
the
pissed.
bet because I think that there's I was hesitant as I talked about before to give Merck. I guess they have to be very quick off the line. I mean, Lewis and Max are they're all amazing. They're all amazing.
And it does concern me that they struggle. If they have a heel, it's warming up the tires. So
And it's
are
right
the tires
away.
and brakes going to be ready for turn one?
It's still not a bad. Okay, we've got all of the logic to support that as a flyer bet, and there are. I mean, it's plus 450 for a reason because I think he's chasing a Red Bull, right? I like the fact that they were purple.
And
it's Max,
runs away with races in lap one. That's just what he does.
all the time. Yeah, I like. Let's park that though. At plus 450, I like the value.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
the value.
Luck. Yeah.
No. I like the value. Like I think it's a good. I think it's an interesting consideration.
To be honest, the stuff that I liked, the highest favorite bet that I liked was the 3 or more leaders at minus 200. Everything else is kind of between there and plus 200, where I made my notes.
Okay, why don't we talk that? So minus 200 for 3 or more leaders. Comparatively, what are the other two categories? Like, what are they?
Yeah,
the other two props. What are they? Just to give me some context. They must be both plus money.
It was the favorite. Yeah, it was the favorite in the grouping.
I don't think I've ever seen that bet be that unfavorable.
Now, part of why I like, and I think Vegas likes it, is there was talk about no one really knows if it's a one-stop or a two-stop. In the post-conference, George was making reference to that. They've got both of them up there. Maybe they can play around.
I don't really think anyone knows is it a one-stop or a two-stop.
I think it's a really good selection.
I'm looking for it.
Though, just in general, from the nature of the track that we talked about, I actually really don't think that Max is going to run away with this race. Like, is Max going to win the race? I mean, there's obviously he has the highest percentage chance of winning the race, but I don't think he's going to be so far ahead.
No.
On those second stops
I'm not looking at him to win this race the way that we did in Austin.
I'm not either. No, I'm not either.
I mean, he very well might, but
he could.
When we're talking about where are we putting our money, it's not as much of a no-brainer. Back to the race leaders. 1 leader is plus 600, 2 liters plus 225, 3 or more is 200, minus 200.
Oh, I really like that bet. Okay, let's.
And again, it's like Max off the line.
Yep.
If Lewis can get him in turn one, and then the potential for some teams to be on one stop or two stop, someone inherits that third leader.
Yeah, I think there's. My understanding is that the optimal strategy for the race is to start on the softs and then run 2 stints on the mediums. But I don't think that there's only a few teams that actually have enough mediums to be able to do it.
Are you tracking available tires?
I was doing it. Yeah, I was doing it before. Hold on.
Good for you, man.
Where did I have it here?
I mean, I listen when they make reference to it, but
yeah. Okay, well, I mean,
that's huge knowledge.
Ironically, Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, and then Williams and Haas. They're the 5 teams that have the mediums, the 2 sets of mediums that are available.
Of new mediums.
So it doesn't really change up the top 6 all that much because obviously the better teams clearly they seem to have planned for the optimum strategy. It looks like, right?
But it also doesn't change up the top 6, if you get what I'm saying. Like last
I-
year, the World Championship literally was decided because one team had fresh tires and one team didn't. I mean, we
that's a
could
good point.
Michael Massey and all that stuff, but it literally
know.
came down to one
Fresh
team had
tires
fresh
versus.
softs to throw
I
on.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like that bet. Minus 200. That's especially here because I don't think that Red Bull's going to enjoy. I don't think that Max is going to enjoy the same pace advantage that he's seen over the last
think
couple
so.
weeks, right? Like I don't. It's going to be. He will still be the fastest out there, likely. But
He very likely wins this race.
yeah, he's starting on pole. I would say that the wrinkle here is the fact that I don't think a pole sitter hasn't won in the last
It's
several
been only
years,
2
right?
years. Lewis has. I think it's been. Well,
Are you sure?
actually,
No,
I don't know about
no.
not one, but I know third was the last 2 years in a row. Lewis has won from pole. I like the trend. I'm hesitant to say.
I
the
wouldn't.
last
I
two
wouldn't.
seasons.
I wouldn't pick somebody else to win, right?
So,
but I'm. Yeah.
Third or fourth place winner to be in third or fourth, so you get both of them. You get Checo
Yeah.
too, which there's some team play, human element. Does Red Bull just let Checo win if it does come down to a Max and Checo?
And
That's plus
That's legit.
200 to get Lewis or Checo. And again, the last two did win from third place. Is that just like they're giving you plus money? Roll with it until someone doesn't win from third? When we've got other stuff.
I think that flies in the face of kind of the strategy that we've talked about previously, though, is that like I don't think we need to pick we don't need to make a bet that reflects the winner of this race. You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
Because then if Max wins, you just look stupid because he could easily just win.
Because why did
obviously.
you not take Max?
I know. We know we're not gonna take Max, but we're also not gonna fade Max. I guess is really kind of where we're landing, right?
There's
Can
no
we can
range
we can we make a note? Can you throw this down on the remarkable?
Yeah.
It is plus 300 for Valtteri Bottas not to classify.
Specifically Bottas.
Yeah. So if you look, it's funny because if you look at the
Because
book,
I had a Romeo not both classified was plus 150. where you
yeah.
get them
So
both.
yeah, you get them both. I think with Zoe having the new power unit, does it make sense to fade? I mean, he's a rookie on the track. He could easily make
So
a mistake.
I agree with that, but then
Right.
what was it? We
I
had
know we
Joe
did this.
and then
We
it
did
was
this. We did this
Bottas,
before. I know
yeah.
We've been through this before. I agree. So then look. Okay, that's fine. So then look at what's.
But I do. If I'm picking one team to fade, it's probably the Romeo.
Okay, so when you look at the, what the books think are the most likely drivers not to classify, it's Bottas plus 300, Latifi plus. So Bottas and Latifi are both plus 300. So that tells you all you need to know about what the books think about
Yeah.
Bottas' ability to finish the race. Right? He's got. I mean, that's hilarious actually if you think about it. Latifi's got a Mercedes power unit in his car, but he's still. Who knows, right?
Well, and so Vegas that's a total comparison of Bottas is totally he might fail, so we got to just give him respect that his engine's going to fail. Latifi's engine will make the race. Like,
It's
I know
not.
he
It
hasn't
won't be
taken
a power
long,
unit
but
problem. Yeah,
they're going to
Yeah.
have no problem with reliability. He's
exactly.
going to hit someone.
Oh, without
He might
a
hit
doubt.
Bottas.
He might hit Bottas. The other plus 300s are Yuki Tsunoda, I think for the exact same reason, and then Zhou Guanyu is the other plus 300, right? So, like they
What's
are.
the AlphaTauri to only have one classified, or like
I don't know.
not
If,
both?
it's tough to
Plus
fade.
162.
It's tough to fade the Red Bull power unit. Like again, the issues with them. I mean, we know that the brakes
Had
on the
issues
car.
this weekend, right?
Yeah, it was brakes. The brakes overheating, right? Which is one of the issues that we know exists in the low air pressure, right?
It just feels like every time they show Gasly, something's going wrong with the team. Like they got a vendetta out for him right now.
Yeah, I mean that's also a good point.
I don't know.
I think okay. So in terms of the battle of attrition and who's not going to make it, I think we look like we're on probably some combination of Alfa Romeo, Bottas. Like we'll get back, we can come back to that, but I think that's probably
if we want to look at a fade, which
Yeah.
is we're not being disrespectful, but it's kind of fun when you're waiting for a DNF and it hits.
it is kind of fun.
And when it's well supported. Like we said, this has been a lean that's been in the making since Austria in the summer.
Without a
where
doubt.
it was the second highest altitude, and we did see these issues. Now, on the topic, and I'm just going to be back, and I'll be on the fence today. I'll be devil's advocate.
Sure.
Last year there was 2 DNFs. Neither of them were failure related, both collisions.
Yeah.
The year before there was 4, or no, sorry, 2. The past 2 races there was 2 each, not power or failure related. The year before that it was braking, cooling, power unit related stuff. And there
Yeah,
was
I don't
4 of
think
them.
we haven't seen. I don't think we've seen really a comparable season. Like
Well,
so
two
how?
cars.
Yeah,
Doing
right. I
that.
think that's the biggest thing. And the like the Ferrari power unit has had a horrible track record this year in terms of its reliability. Like probably one of the worst that we've seen over the last decade. Right,
That's
like
good
without a
point.
doubt.
Take,
Right.
take
So
whatever trends you had before and then
doesn't
multiply them because
doesn't seem
the
to matter.
Ferrari is
Though,
just
yeah,
so much worse.
exactly. Right.
The other thing that we saw a lot, now maybe this is just practice sessions because guys are pushing and it won't happen in the race, but a lot of people went off in sector 2.
Yeah,
Leclerc
and that's a
spot,
grip issue.
like-
Yeah, it's a
and
grip issue.
That's a
right?
downforce
Yeah.
grip issue.
Yeah, that's a grip issue, and it's
And
a
that's
so
the spot of the lap where the tires start screaming at you because you
Yeah,
haven't
I-
had the straight to cool them down.
it's true. There's obviously an extremely high degree of track evolution here because it's they were saying that's a very kind of dusty track. I don't know, like if that's going to happen, it's going to happen probably early on because it seems like the more rubber that gets laid down, this track seems to rubber in really quickly. Actually,
Yeah.
it seems like based on what they were talking about during the practice session. So, but you're right though, absolutely. Like that
Well,
that
it's
that
a
exists
gut-
as a risk, right?
It's a gust of wind. It's,
Yeah. No,
Tsunoda
totally.
literally
Yep.
gets caught out, or Latifi gets caught out
Well,
on gust of
Latifi.
wind.
Yeah, Latifi.
I was listening to WTF1,
Yeah.
their post thing, and they're like,
Yeah.
if you just looked at the qualifying and saw Verstappen P1 and Latifi P20, you might have thought it was a normal qualifying, but it was really exciting. That's a fair point.
That's so good.
Those are the most, Latifi P20. What else? Okay, let me get into my list here a little bit because I had some stuff. Lewis podium is favored, but again, that's kind of picking one guy to have a good day. I don't know if we want to do that here. I
Yeah.
thought this was interesting just from a perspective of like putting bets together from Vegas. Both
Okay.
Mercedes on the podium
Yeah.
is plus 162. Now, what stood out to me is that's what they've been giving the Red Bulls the past couple races when we've been on Red Bull both podium. It's always
That's
that plus 162.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know where they get
162.
162 from. Is that just when there's guys in second and third?
Maybe there
They're
must
just
be like
162 to stay there?
there must be something to that for the grid position, right? I don't like
A lot has to go
discounting.
right.
I don't like discounting Checo. That's the problem that I
Yeah.
have, right? I wish like so we're this is a hard race to handicap from the perspective that you've got Max in first place, so you can't. There's no bets really that you can take with Max because he's on pole, and the Mercedes you would think are they out of they're kind of out of position for us, right? Like we're losing the value that we normally find on Mercedes because of where they're starting this race.
But
That's what's complicating it,
yes,
right?
but is that covered off by the fact that they are that much better?
Well,
At
we're making a lot of we've been making a lot of assumptions about like I guess this is what's hard for me to digest is that we have a lot of data and from the eye test they've also passed it in terms of can they perform on this particular track over like a one lap session, and the answer is yes, which is good because they haven't been able to do that really anywhere else.
Right.
That should translate into better race success.
Well, that's
But-
the data we've seen this year is they are
Yeah.
better on Sunday than Saturday.
True. Now, I don't know. I still has to be the right bet, I think, for me. Like the double podium is not the right one. What's the top set? What's both of them in the top six?
Oh, I think it's
How
like
much? How bad are we? Like we're losing a ton of
maybe
value. I think.
400. I think it's 400.
Yeah, that's tough. This is where this is what I mean in terms of it's kind
No,
of
it's 225.
225 minus 225.
How do you feel about George in this race?
Um,
I think he finishes. Like he'll classify.
he's gonna finish. Like, and I'm not worried about him actually finishing outside of the top six.
Like,
I am
was-
worried. I am worried
he
about
gets
him.
gobbled up in turn one.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
I'm more.
there's- Dude, there's a
I'm more worried about him like taking somebody out and.
There's a
Here's the
weird
thing.
dynamic between him and Lewis going on right now. I don't know where it's coming from. All the
Well,
interviews, man.
I think I'm more worried about Checo behind him than I am about Lewis
What
right
was the
next to him.
quote? He goes, oh, they were asking about porpoising. And he's like, yeah, no, I haven't. There was a time where I would have told you a couple months ago I couldn't imagine what it was like to not have porpoising. And now it's been so long, I can't imagine what it was like to have porpoising. And then they go to Lewis right after, and Lewis goes, well, I still feel a lot of porpoising. So, like, I don't know what this dynamic is between them, but
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be friendly in turn one today. I'm worried. And I'm
Okay,
worried for
so-
George.
So
I think
like
George.
that. I
think
that,
George
actually.
takes out Max and Lewis takes the lead in turn one.
Okay, so
I'm not putting money on it, but like, come back here and be like, Chaps saw that coming.
okay, no, dude. Honestly, though, I like that you have some reservations. So normally, it's like I would have said, "What is Mercedes both top six?" And you're like minus 225, and we'd be like, "Okay, lock it in," right? Like we would just do.
Yeah.
I like that you have reservations on it. Like that. What that is
I just
that's
don't like the team dynamic I'm hearing this weekend.
That's a very
And then they
interesting
make reference
perspective on
that
it.
they might try alternate strategy just because throw shit at the wall. So
Yeah.
what if that alternate strategy goes wrong?
That's a very interesting perspective, then. So then, okay.
Like
this
Lewis
is
isn't going to back off of George in turn one. He's going around the outside.
I
Max comes in
completely-
to defend. George is going to go up and Lewis is going to go around the out for sure.
Okay, so the more and more we talk, so the 450, so the Flyer 450 Lewis lead.
I'm
after
talking
lap-
myself into it, but I really like that.
No, but I like it too. What you're talking me out of is any sort of combination bet with Mercedes, like even the battle of attrition bet that I was just gonna say, like for them to finish, like all of a sudden, I don't know if it's even
They're
worth.
minus 400 to finish.
Yeah, we're
Now,
not
I
doing
still
that.
like
I'm-
that.
We're not
because
doing
George,
that though. We're not
George
doing
could
that.
lose
yeah.
a wing in turn one and he still finishes the race. We've seen that a number
That's
of
actually
times.
so. That's a really good point. Like he's not necessarily going to be out of the race.
No.
I like.
They're equal odds with Red Bull.
Yeah,
Both of
so
them
we're
minus
not-
400 to
Yeah,
both finish.
I don't. That might not be the play. We're gonna. To be honest, before we got on this call, I was like, we're gonna have a hard time. This
A lot
is
of
gonna be a
people were
tough.
messaging me today being like, this is going to be a tough one.
We're gonna have a hard
handicap.
time to handicap this race. So I.
We don't have to force ourselves to find
No.
four.
No.
Like,
I
it's just
completely.
whatever- yeah.
No. It's whatever natural conclusion that we come
So
to.
to come off of that, because if I'm going to pick George or Lewis, let's just say one of them has issues. I think Lewis is on one this weekend. He's got something to prove.
I agree.
There is
and
a
this
max-
is his shot. This is
There
his
is
shot.
a Max Lewis Checo combo, any order, plus 250 on the podium.
Okay. Write that down too.
That's where I'm reading it off of.
You're reading. You've got it written. You've
Yeah.
got it written down. Okay.
Mercedes win was plus money, but I don't think we're doing winner.
No.
Those are the stuff that stood out to me. I just
Can you just entertain me with this
Yeah,
this match with this Group 3 match bet?
okay.
This is a crazy bet, and you're probably just gonna spit on it. But
Hold on.
what
Before you
Yeah.
tell me, I'm gonna group three. They group them by fours. So Alonso, Ocon, Ricardo, Zhou, and you're gonna tell me you want.
they
You're gonna
didn't
say Ocon?
they didn't do it that way. It's
Oh.
Ricardo, Gasly, Zhou, and Sonoda, and I'm like plus 137 for Danny Ricardo to finish. Like he could be the guy who just finishes out of that group. So what that does is it allows you to fade Gasly because you had your leans on Gasly.
Mm-hmm.
I think we both love the idea of fading Zhou and Tsunoda. I'm just throwing it out there, like as an option. Do you want to
Who
bet
were we
on
on?
Danny
We were on
Ricciardo?
Norris with the group bet, and it missed.
It didn't. So keep in mind the reason, like that was chaos in Japan.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like that was absolute chaos in Japan. I think it was a good bet, but this is like, can you trust Danny Ricciardo to win you a bet? I mean, but can you trust the
Can you,
McLaren?
though?
Can you trust the Mercedes power unit to win you a bet? I'm throwing it out there. I just wanted to look at the match bets.
Okay. I respect it. It's
just
out
right.
there.
Yeah, it's out there. Just as maybe we come back to it at some point. I need to keep looking. I have to scour the book, dude. I have to scour the book to
This is
find
part of
something.
the process, man.
I know. I have to. This is harder
I don't
than
have enough of a feel on how these group bets play out. Like I'm looking at this, and the red, like the Ferraris are. You could just take the Ferraris at huge plus money to be over Mercedes. Vegas likes Mercedes here.
And they should.
They also have Lewis minus 138 and George plus 225.
Yeah, that's a
which
good.
somewhat supports
What
everything
you
else
just
I'm
talked
saying
about.
with the dynamic.
No, I agree with that too. I mean, I think Lewis needs to win a race this year. Like,
The other thing, I talked early in the year where we need to do this after qualifying because we look for someone that has something. Lewis had a lap deleted.
he had a lot
is
to lead.
So he's in 3, but is he
Should he
out
be
of
2?
position
Should he be 2? Yeah.
because of
Should he be
bad luck
1?
in qualifying?
Should he be pole? Yeah.
Now they talked a lot. The deleted lap wouldn't have put him on pole, but what it
No.
did do was it meant he only had one chance to then get a lap. So what was the delta that he lost by just not being able to push
Yeah.
with some sort of safety lap behind him? Safety net. He might have had pole.
He might have pole. Did you say winning? Did you give us the winning car? So winning car Red Bull is minus 250. So you get Max on pole, Checo in 4. I hate like betting against the Mercedes, but
Well, you hate to bet against the Red Bull to win a race.
I mean, you get both of them at minus 250. Maybe just make a note on that too when you start to look at some of the higher volume bets
That's
for us.
Red Bull to win.
It's a Red Bull to win the race, yeah. Any Red Bull to win the race.
At that combo TriCast, you got Max, Checo, and Lewis. 2 out of 3 of those options are a Red Bull winner at plus 250. But then you also need Lewis to be in there. It's not as much of a trade-off, but it kind of hits the same.
No, I actually like that chat. No, you're totally right. The combo TriCast is better value because we don't. I agree. I don't think George Russell is going to win the race. How about that?
I don't
Simple as that.
either.
So I think that okay, you. That's a good bet. Hold on, let's go back to that. That's a really good bet. So
Yeah.
we don't think that. Now, no,
Lewis
hold
can
on.
win. And
No,
then
but
you,
this is the problem though. Obviously, with that bet is that like I'm not worried about who's going to win. We're more worried about who's going to take the 3rd spot on the podium. I mean, that could be George Russell. Obviously, like there's no reason to think it couldn't be.
we think, well, that's both Mercedes. That's the 162 that for some reason seems to always hit when we see that plus 162 both podium.
Yeah,
Like that's a number that Vegas just pays out all the time for some reason.
I was hemming and hawing about Checo all week, and it's just like I would not be surprised. This is what sucks about Checo is that everything points to Checo. So he had a problem in we talked about this before with Lewis. Like Checo had a problem in qualifying, right? He had an electronic issue or something like that. Where did he? Hold on, let me find it. I wrote it down.
Lewis. Mind me now,
Lewis actually had a power issue
in
qualifying.
Lewis had a power issue in qualifying.
or at least he said he did, but then he still put it on P3.
Yeah, hold on.
It's something's going on in Mercedes, man.
No. I agree. I completely agree with what you're saying. Man, okay? Hold on. I have to find this note that I wrote about Checo because, like, it wouldn't be surprising if he just like didn't finish on the podium, like home race, and you're like, wow, this is going to be at a rear limited track to some degree, and he's in
Everyone's
the best car.
saying he's gonna win.
Yeah, and you're like, and then he just like doesn't. It would be so Checo of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on the other side of the coin, are we losing? Because I don't like betting storyline. Like, and I'm not betting storyline. I'm just saying.
No.
I'm thinking. He's very good at tire wear, right? We know that he's extremely good at managing his tires. He's very good in slow speed. Like, are we not acknowledging that this is a track that he should succeed on? Like, he
He's
should.
go well here.
He should. He's got the best power unit on the grid. He manages his tires extremely well.
Did he? I don't want to speak out of turn.
He had an electrical issue through quali with DRS. He was pretty, and so the electrical issue he said he was pretty much blind through his quali sessions. He had no reference lap time. He had no information on his brake balancer times.
I
He
do
still put
remember
it.
it was
He still put it on 4.
Q2, where the DRS didn't open in the third sector or the third
Yeah.
like DRS zone.
Yeah, like so he had some struggles going through. I don't. He might have gone through all 3 sessions without having his lap time or his brake balancer times, right? Like,
I mean, if we look at Monaco, he won the last time he had this downforce package on his car.
so I wouldn't like. I'm not. But does that just point to minus 250 Red Bull to win the race? Then is my point. Are we like?
Is there a chance that Mercedes wins this race?
I mean, yeah.
It suits
Yeah.
them better than Austin. Can we?
Yeah,
can we agree on that? Like, just
Yeah. Oh no,
without
without a
seeing
doubt.
anything.
Yeah,
the track,
yeah.
the track specifics here suit the Mercedes better than Austin.
Yeah. So so here's
Hold on.
it's simple as it is. Well, they didn't. I mean, they didn't again. Like circumstance. Like you can't really. I don't know if there's a comparable. I guess this is what's hard is that
He
there's
just
no
didn't-
comparable.
He didn't like finish 6th in Austin.
No.
You
I
know,
know. Yeah,
the
but he
car
also
held on.
he also was gonna. Lewis would have lost the race by 15 seconds though. So it's not. You still
The
have
max,
to be
right.
15 seconds behind the leader means that you're nowhere close to winning the race.
Now, I was traveling. I don't remember. Did he have purple sectors in qualifying? The way that they're purple in sector 2 here? Like, at least they are
I don't-
fast on this lap.
I don't think so.
I don't think
no,
they
but
would've
they've
been purple
but they,
anyway.
No, but they've had. But so let's be clear though too. In practice and qualifying, Mercedes have hit purple sectors before because when they go into the more downforce oriented sections of certain
Right.
tracks, they do well. There's straights. There's now again they're not like we talked about this before. The effect of the straights is not going to have. It won't be as much of a detriment to the Mercedes because of the reduced drag.
Right.
They're still off the pace though. Like I guess like I don't want to.
Yes. Yeah,
I
they
don't want to mince words here. Like they still are off the
Um,
pace. They could still lose positions on the straights for sure. They have to make them up in sector 2.
Top speed in their qualifying lap, Max 199 kilometers, George 198.4, Lewis 198.4, Checo 198.3, Sainz 197.7, Leclerc 197.2. That's a comparable top speed for the Mercedes.
That's interesting.
It's very interesting. Because I was with you, eye test, I agree.
Yeah.
But this is just justifying that the drag effect is so minimal here.
Yeah, it really is. It's changed significantly for sure. Like it changes. Well, I mean, there's a reason why you're getting minus 162 for them both to be on the podium.
Plus 162.
Plus 162.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's also a reason why it's minus 250 for Red Bull to win the race, right? I mean,
Okay.
this is hard, man.
I don't
it is
love
what it is.
picking.
It's hard.
I don't
It's
love
hard.
picking the race winner at minus money. So much can go wrong,
That's fine. So then let's
and
stay away from it.
especially
Okay, let's
tenfold
put
that.
it-
Couple
put
that
it to
with
bed.
this. This is the closest that we've seen the Red Bull and the Mercedes be all year. So even more so, I'm not sure I want to throw on the winner.
Let's put it to bed then. Let's not.
I'd
I
rather
don't-
pick the Mercedes to win, and at least get
and
plus
get
money
and
out
get
of it.
and get the value.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
like I so then if that's the case, then we're splitting the decision and we're not going to worry about picking a race winner. I just
What do we like so far? 3 or more leaders was one that we seem to like.
we like the 3 or more leaders. That's a good bet. That's a really good bet, I think.
Lewis to lead was an interesting flyer that I starred.
Yeah.
What about Lewis just to stay on the podium? I said no early because it's just one guy, but that's minus 175.
I don't. Okay, so I don't mind that bet actually. Lewis to just stay on the podium. So like you fade the Ferraris with that bet, which I like.
I don't
I
like
like-
the Ferraris here. They haven't
No.
looked good.
No, they haven't looked good, and they
struggle
could
with
be out of the
tire
race.
drag.
Yeah, yeah,
This is hard on the tires, and they could blow up. Like,
yeah. I know. Okay. So minus 175.
what was your lean? You said you had a lean for the Ferrari.
No, I mean I was
Over?
looking. Then you saw them in practice.
Was it going to be that the pressure's off and they're actually going to like have?
Yeah,
a strategy
I
and
actually.
just-
So
yeah.
the fact that Leclerc changed his power unit last week and in theory shouldn't blow up and I was like, okay, let's see, because they still have good raw pace, but it just it didn't materialize over the weekend. It just doesn't seem to make sense, right? So
I was trying to take a look. Is there anyone outside of the top 10? I mean, when I fell in love with investing in the sport, that's where I made a lot of interesting,
yeah,
where it's like a guy that, like, is there, like, both Alpines are in there. The grid is so half and half to me right now.
yeah.
There's
it is.
five teams that feel like real businesses, real companies, and there's five teams that don't.
And it's
Is that
hard.
fair to say?
Well, no, it's true. And what that does though is just like eliminate them from
Yeah.
picks, right? Like you're just not going to bet on them.
No.
Like in fact, we will make an effort to just like actively fade them. For
Yeah,
these,
yeah.
Right? Like we just don't. We think that we don't even trust that they're going to finish the race. It's
I don't
hilarious,
trust
right?
any of these bottom guys are going to finish. Magnussen will probably finish, new engine. But
He
is
should,
he going to
yeah.
go all the way to the top 10?
No. No, he probably
For
won't.
sure, no?
Well, he probably won't. He probably won't. From 20?
19?
19? He's not. No, he
He's
won't.
only plus 500. This is really funny. Everyone's minus top 10, right? Minus. Starts at minus 800 max. Minus. We get to K-Mag. The Hasses are plus 500. And then you got Latifi at plus 2,000.
Yeah, that's a classic. He's been at the plus two. He's stuck on plus 2,000, which is just like
If you rode it every race and then he did get the points, are you in the
He
plus? Or do you make money on him all year?
he got the points. He got the points one time
Singapore,
in Japan.
I think.
In
Yeah,
Japan.
yeah.
Japan. Because of circumstance. He
Carnage.
didn't.
Yeah.
Carnage.
But
Yeah,
he
like-
wasn't the Carnage.
No,
First
but
time in his career.
But he was in the points.
Yeah.
He passed Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah. Oh man, good for him.
He was in 21st. End of that position.
Driver specials. Let's see what's going on in here. Did Sainz end up getting? It was a coolant leak. Did he get a new engine or anything from all that damage last week?
I didn't read anything about it.
That dude, like we're a broken record on the reliability. That just to me, a Merc and a Ferrari come into a little slight collision. Somehow the Ferrari is bleeding coolant, and the Mercedes goes on and finishes the race and has fastest lap.
It doesn't even. They don't even need to change like components on
George
the car.
gets fastest lap. Yeah,
It's as simple as that. I mean, like that's the reason why we stay away from them. I
just
mean,
a little sneeze, and it's like, oh, the Ferrari is leaking coolant. He's done.
Okay, I'm throwing this out there because we're struggling really to find the bets that we like. End of first lap position.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton third or better minus 250.
So the risk there is where he's starting.
Yeah.
So that's just a positive negative, right? Like. I mean, I'm all over him to take the lead.
I think we kind of have. We've kind of like, we have a bet that we like, where we've taken that into account. But like, I'm just thinking, I don't know, dude. I'm
safer because you get 3 positions, including the one he's starting in.
Yeah.
Is it just $1,000 on 3 or more race leaders, and we just hope that we see 3 leaders?
Yeah, honestly, it's shaping up that way right now. It's kind of crazy to even.
Does
Oh,
Wikipedia they wouldn't cover how many people led the race? Like if I go to last year or something.
I don't know. Man, we are having.
It is a mixed up
We're having
grid.
a tough time.
It is.
It's a mix. It's a mix of grid. It's a mix of grid.
And also, this is the closest that the top 3 have been on all year.
Yeah, no. I think that's just that's fine. I like that. It's a unique challenge for sure.
Do we just back it out and go back to like classifications? Just take them minus 400 to finish.
Well, that is always
I'd like
a
to
good.
have some fun, but
No, I want to have
here
some fun
keep
too.
our money.
No, I know. Carlos Sainz leader at the end of any lap minus 120. Charles Leclerc leader at the end of any lap.
Without
still-
Max Verstappen,
Yeah, let's like take a look. Take a look.
everyone's plus. There's no real clear. Is Vegas just giving Lewis all these favorite in all these categories because it's Lewis Hamilton and he's finally starting in P3 and they're just hoping people bet on him? You know what I mean? Like, or do they actually
Maybe.
think that Lewis is that good?
Well, I'm really having a tough time, like, reconciling this, his starting position, the odds that you're getting, the fact that their performance has been strong, the underlying metrics seem to support that they're going to do well. It's just like one of those things you have to see to believe kind of thing. You know what I mean?
This
This
is where
is-
the sporting is going to come into this today.
I agree.
We're going to be justified and educated with
Can
the
you
pick.
write this one down? Just again, we're gonna have to look. Okay, let's just continue to go. We're almost done going through the book. I think
Yeah.
both of us. We just have to like look at the list of things you've written down.
Yeah.
So Sergio to be the leader at the end of any lap minus 250. Just because he's good on the tires and he's starting in fourth. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, just they're probably gonna bring Max in first. I just wrote it out there. Okay, where am I here?
That's interesting. I would argue, let's just go -3 or more at -200. Because if Checo is leading, you're
That's still
already
the-
got Max and Checo.
Yeah. No, I mean that's still without a doubt that's still the best bet that we've talked about. I completely agree.
Like, how does that not happen?
I don't know.
I've seen it where it was just two. What race? No, but that wasn't that like Singapore where it was, or which one was 20 laps? Japan.
No,
there was
Singapore.
there was only 2 leaders, but it was like a half a race.
No, Singapore. Well, they didn't.
We were on
They ran out of
um,
time. We were on 3 or more race leaders in Singapore, and it didn't happen.
And it didn't happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it ended up timed.
and it ended up time. And it was because
Well, that was all like the rain and stuff.
It was weird. Like, I mean, the circumstances around the race were weird. Max was we had Max like could have easily taken over the race lead. He was flying around and then had that big lockup and went off the track and like I think it was still a good bet. It just again circumstance prevented it from happening.
There's a Mercedes versus Ferrari match bet. Mercedes is -300. How does that?
Yeah, I think
is
it's
that
we
top
talked about this
finisher?
though. Yeah, it's
That's
top
top
finisher,
finisher, right?
Which honestly might not even be worth it though. -300 for them to just like they have to just finish ahead of. Well, okay, they probably is worth it.
It
I
might
guess,
not be
'cause-
worth it.
Yeah. It might not be worth it. Only because so the only reason I'm saying it might not be worth it is again, that's just I don't know if I can trust something I've never seen before. I've never seen
Right.
them like they still are behind on the raw race pace. Like without a doubt, it still exists. There's still a delta. There's all of these other things that they on this particular
not sure
track.
That Delta's here.
I don't know.
If I
That's-
was looking at these top speeds and the Ferrari had them on top speed, I'd be right with you. But it's clear Mercedes is better in sector 2 with the turns, and I'm looking at their top speed. They got faster on the straight.
Okay, I could easily just like stop resisting all of this and just say fuck it. Like there's enough data to be like we could just go all in on the Mercedes. Like my
We're just hesitant because we haven't seen them be a
I know, but like
race-winning
is
car
it
this year.
I think that's now I'm trying to take a step back and think like is that just how you do you just watch the race and go what the fuck are we thinking? Like all the data pointed that they were going to be competitive and now they're competitive.
I mean, dude, I texted you on Monday. My first thing I said was, I don't know if I'm feeling this right, but we're going to a downforce package track. Mercedes is naturally good at downforce. Does this just mean that they're going to be good here? And then I tried to convince myself I was wrong all week, and everything they're showing me, it's like maybe they are just good here.
Maybe they are just good here. And so for them to
My biggest concern is that they crash into each other.
I know that's but so Chaps,
That's they're both professional. They're not going to do that. But I don't like. I want them to be friends. Come on, guys.
guys be friends. Like is it I guess it's just like it's not. It wouldn't be crazy. That bet is minus 300, but it wouldn't. I don't know if it gives you like. I wouldn't be crazy if Leclerc finished in second and Hamilton finished in third. It wouldn't be crazy. It could happen. Like it's Leclerc.
Wouldn't be crazy.
It wouldn't be crazy. Like we've seen that happen a lot.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be crazy if
That'd
they
be
just
pretty
got.
crazy. That'd be crazy.
It wouldn't be crazy. No, it wouldn't be crazy. You go. It would be crazy. Get out of here.
Ferrari has no downforce. They struggle to put it on their car. They're gonna, like, dude, the Bottas split the Ferraris. How does Leclerc lose to Bottas?
They didn't look good. Like I don't know. They didn't look
They
like
didn't.
there's. Well, okay. Like so Sainz just like didn't have a good qualifying session. So that doesn't reflect well on him. There was some issue with Leclerc during qualifying. I thought maybe is there some value there because he just had some difficulty through qualifying. What did he say? They were struggling with something engine wise. The throttle was like not responding. I think the throttle input was not really responding. He said, "I think this is really a one-off." You know what? Honestly, that's a guy that like he doesn't like. I like listening to interviews and making inferences based on what people say because I think a lot of them are pretty contrite about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Leclerc is like he's kind of like he's like a very corporate citizen.
Right.
He's probably more of like a corporate citizen than anybody else.
Well, it's that classic when they were like 13 years old. Max, what happened? Oh, he drove me off the track, then I drove him. Leclerc, what happened? It's a racing incident. Nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
that's
happened.
exactly
It's a
it.
racing incident.
So like for him to be like, it's not a big deal. I think it's really a one-off. It might actually be a problem. Then we just go minus. Then we're just on minus 300 for Mercedes to finish with more team points.
I'd still rather just throw more at the 3 or more race leaders. At better odds. Does Max run away with this and just
okay?
lose the whole
So
race?
we don't seem to think that. So like, what could like can we? Are we going to be upset? We could be because it's like stupid, but are we going to be? So we both don't think that.
Upset.
We both don't think that.
A big
right? Like,
part of
like-
that is the fact that there was talk about is it one stop or two. I know there's a preferred strategy, but when you hear it's not like okay, we all gonna make a one stop work. You just get a third leader out of someone being on a different strategy.
I completely agree. Now, again, I think I kind of alluded to the fact that there seems to be a preferred two-stop strategy, and that the top teams have.
But that's even a second
Mediums.
stop for someone to inherit.
I
I would rather it go two stop.
I agree. Like the fact that it is, I think that is reflected in the odds that you're being given. Is that like the preferred strategy is a two-stop strategy that all the top teams are going to be on a two-stop strategy.
Dude, Vettel led a lap last week.
Yeah, I
Or
know.
was it 2 races ago? Like
No, that was last week.
we could just have Vettel leading this race, and
Imagine.
that hits it.
Perfect. Because there's going to be teams that are going to do one-stops below those teams. Below the top teams, right? So even like somebody on a one-stop might be able to get out there because they're at their
Ocon
long,
will be on
right?
Hards or something. Or where's
Yeah.
Albon? Albon's on 17. I think
Okay,
that's
can you
probably
can
my
you give
biggest
me a review of what you've written down?
Okay.
Like this is just like let's just talk about what's been written down here.
Okay, I'll just go for the top. I'm not going to go in any
Man,
order of preference. Lewis
that's fine.
podium was minus 175. I think we talked off of it.
Yeah, so cross it out. Let's get rid
Okay.
of that.
Mercedes both podium was 162, which stood out to me because of just the odd number.
No, get rid of that.
Max and Lewis on the podium was minus 120.
Well,
would
Max
just go
and that's Max and Lewis to finish first and second in any order.
No. Just both be on the podium. Was that a podium combo? I think it was. It was not the duel.
Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe I misunderstood. That.
I don't know where I found it. I gotta find it again.
Podium, combination podium finish. Here it is.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, you gotta scroll down for Max and Lewis. Well, it's gone the wrong way. Minus 138. I had it at minus 120 before we got on the call.
Well, Max and Lewis finish on the podium. Okay. Put a star
It's
beside that
138
one.
now.
Put a star beside that one. Put a star beside that one. Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought that was like a combination forecast.
Now, would you not just go Lewis then at minus 175 and take out the second driver in that equation? Like we crossed Lewis podium at 175 immediately, but then at 138 to have both of them seem like, why wouldn't we just go back to the 175?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I guess now that it's down to 138, it's not like...
Well, and George taking out Max might be a way that Lewis just stays on this podium. Or Bottas bowling.
Okay, maybe I'm... Yeah, maybe I'm... Okay, so maybe... Okay, you're right. So
It's weird that both of us didn't like it when it was just one driver. We're picking Lewis on the podium, but then
I think
you throw Max in there, it's like, oh yeah, Max is on the podium for sure.
No,
Yeah,
I think that's just a reflection of how safe a bet Max has been for us over the last couple of races. So okay, cross that one out. You're right. It doesn't make sense from a
I'd
value
go back
perspective.
to the Lewis podium if we were looking at both of them.
Okay, put a star beside the Lewis podium. That's fine. Let's do that.
Okay, Max Lewis Checo combination was plus 250.
No.
Mercedes win was plus 187. No. Winner from P3 or P4 plus 200. I brought it up, and what I liked about that was you get Lewis, which maybe is not likely, but you also get Checo, and if
man, put a star.
Max
beside
has been
that
very clear. There's no gifts to Checo.
No.
You know,
put a star beside that one. Like, just I'm not like that could be a bit of a sprinkle. I'm not totally opposed to that, to be completely honest, because of how all four of the drivers that are in those top four grid positions have acknowledged that this is a bit of a toss-up. Mm-hmm. Right? Like usually it's like they're all conceding that Red Bull is going to run away with it. Even Max, like he, sometimes he's a bit of a mouthpiece and he says everybody's competitive, but a lot of the times he's just like, we're enjoying an advantage and we should be fine going into the race. He's not saying that for reasons that I think are obvious.
He's got to have
right?
a good start.
He's going to have a good start, and he's in it historically, I guess, a challenging position, which is being on pole. So,
here's a question for you: when we talk about straight line speed, how much of that is top speed versus acceleration?
I think
is the fact that this straight is happening off of a flat start finish, standing start finish. Is the Red Bull faster or not? Is the gap not as big?
I think that the gap is probably not as big because there's not.
It's top speed that we're referencing when we're talking about straight line, not as much so acceleration.
Yeah.
The Mercedes could get the jump.
Sure.
And get around.
Well, I mean, I guess like the fact, because you're talking about essentially the most important factor being your reaction time to the start, right? Like if you're talking about turn one, then it's, and it's just a toss up, I guess, ultimately in the end, right? Like, I mean, guys they're all good at starts. Like apparently Lance Stroll is the best. I don't know. Like,
no, that one in the rain was wild.
I know. It was insane.
Okay, third or fourth, then no. Three or more race leaders minus 200. I think we like that one.
That's the bet right now.
Romeo not to both be classified was plus 150.
Okay, we have to have. So is it either? So I guess the question is.
I would let's get both of them
both.
if we're doing it. Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, both. Yeah, put a star beside that one.
Because Bottas alone was 300.
Yeah. You might as well just.
It's gonna be show, man.
But he could still car and
we can get both of them. This isn't just one. Do we want to zero in on just one? Do they double DNF?
Okay, sorry. What is just one? Because actually,
that's what that would. Look it up.
The fact that I actually don't mind that, because
what are the odds that Joe's both go out?
There's low. I think that the fact that Joe has a new power unit, like right? Like he could finish the race because he's got the new power unit. He could still crash, and if he crashes, then we're just going to be hoping that Bottas doesn't go up in flames, which is a horrible position to be in.
Plus 187 instead
of
plus 1.
Not enough additional value.
Take them both going out.
I'm
gonna put a star on that.
Yep.
I liked Lewis lead lap 1 plus 450 is just the flyer to make exciting start.
Put it like
it's well justified. Third place won this race the last 2 years.
It might be $50 on that, to be honest.
It might be. And then we had the Bottas. We said no DNF. Checo lead any lap was minus 250, but I think we've got that covered by going bulk on 3 or more leaders.
Yeah.
You had the group bet. I actually didn't write it down.
We're not gonna bet on Danny Ricciardo.
Write it down though and track it. I just haven't
I
seen the
will.
group bets play out enough.
Yeah,
to
it's just
know
it's he's got to
anything
finish
about
ahead
it.
of Zoe Tsunoda and
I know, but why?
I know.
Why did they? Why is he? Why is
Gasly,
the group
yeah.
not drivers 9 to 12? They picked specific drivers. Like I thought it was always going to be 1 to 4,
Yeah.
5 to 8, 9 to 12.
up and away. I think they've set it up in a way so there's no heavy favorite in the group. But that's fine. Like I mean,
Yeah, like they put the
we're
they
not
put the
betting on.
Mercedes with the Ferrari. The Red Bulls just
Yeah.
aren't even in a group.
Yeah.
So I have 4 stars. No,
Okay.
no, 5 stars.
Oh. Okay. So what are we taking 5? Do we have 5 bets that we're gonna make?
We have 2 with Lewis on the podium. That I start the
Um,
combo, or just Lewis straight up on the podium.
Oh, so I think we decided though that it just makes more sense that. Okay, so take away the combination podium, and then we have
Sorry.
4 bets.
The Lewis Max Checo plus 250. We
Oh.
crossed out the Max and Lewis
Get
combination.
rid of the Lewis Max Checo. Get rid of that. Too many variables.
So Lewis podium might have actually dropped since this morning because the other one dropped. Let me see here. 188. So Lewis podium minus 188. 3 or more leaders at minus 200. One of the Romeo's not to both finish plus 150, and Lewis to lead the first lap plus 450.
Jesus Christ. What? This is fucking hard, dude.
To be honest, man, if we can make a profit here, like we don't even need a track record. We'll just keep saying, yeah, go Mexico Grand Prix. We've made money.
Look at
somehow.
that weekend that we had. I mean, that is like.
What made us so happy? It's just the Mercedes. We're not used to them being good.
Or is it just, or is it like, do we need just to bet $400 on the minus 400?
Oh, I'm thinking that's kind of where we're going.
Because I don't
minus
like,
400
yeah,
just to finish the race.
yeah. Or like is there a safety bet? Like, is there just like do we just sprinkle like 200 on the minus 400 or something like that? Do we, like, not that I think those are bad bets, those
To
4
win
bets.
$50.
Yeah, but do we want to be do we want to be as exposed as we would be with
That's true.
essentially
Part of this is we've boxed ourselves in that we have to spend 1,000. So it's not just the problem. It's let's get the 1,000 back.
we need the 1,000 back.
Like we could just say, oh, this week's bet is $50 on this, and just see where it goes. But the most you're going to lose is $50.
Okay, so let's talk
But
about
that's not our concept.
deployment here.
What was the minus 400 you're referencing? Both Mercedes to finish.
Both Mercedes to finish, right? Okay, well, let's look. So what's the top 10 odds and what are they to classify? Because like they're going to finish in the top 10. Maybe that's the. Well, they're okay. Hold on, both cars top 6.
Top 10.
Yeah, look at top 10.
Minus 300 top 10.
Yeah, so that's the bet then.
300.
We just look for fun stuff.
That's
and
the
we
bet.
just come back to Mercedes to be in the pool. I'm losing you.
Well, what do you want to? Yeah, you're
Did you
bleep
turn
blurping.
your camera off? You're.
No, I'm here. Oh, you are.
Is my screen there? Because I don't even see you right now.
Oh no, my screen. Your screen is there.
Oh, okay.
Looks fine.
Okay. I don't know what's
That's a
happening. there.
Riverside thing.
Okay.
Huh.
Okay, so then, yeah, I mean, like that. So then, is there just like a bulk bet that's both Mercedes to finish? I mean, like that's obviously a good bet. But so the only reason, okay, so let's keep this in mind. Yeah, the only reason that we like somehow didn't talk about Mercedes finishing or top tens is you were just like you had reservations about
It's too bad 'cause this could
Lewis
be
and
good.
George. Our connection's fucked, eh?
I wonder if it's me. I didn't plug in actually.
Mm,
I figured it out.
you're
It
still.
didn't. I don't think. I'm
grainy.
looking at you. It never dropped on you.
That's weird. Okay.
I can't. At least like your screen.
Yeah, it might be.
I didn't really hear what you said, but I would guess the only reason we didn't just be top 10 is because they put it in 2 and 3, and we were so focused on them at the top.
Well, no, I think it
where you were
was
going with
you had this like feeling, this gut feeling that there was going to be something between Lewis and George. Now, that might not mean that they
Or George and
don't.
Checo, or George and Carlos, or George and
Yeah.
Bottas, who are all
Now,
right there screaming.
I
in
agree.
turn 1.
I agree. And I guess what we've seen though is that in the battle of attrition, Mercedes are superior.
George can spin in turn 1 and still be in the points.
He can take damage in
We've seen
turn
that a
one and
bunch
still
of
be in the
times.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so is that
That
just
is the
I
safe
think
bet. I mean, we do this, we chase some stuff, and then we let's retain some money here.
yeah, so
500
we're
on
not
that?
I don't know if I want to be as stiff on that, to be completely honest. Like I might be okay with. Okay, so then if that comes in, do we take a Lewis podium or do we want to? That's like is that too much on Mercedes? Are we doing Lewis podium and both the
I
finish
like
in
the
top 10?
Lewis lead lap 1, just like $50.
No,
That's
we're
so
on that.
exciting.
No, I agree. I'm on that one. I like that
Yeah.
bet. So let's
It's
say
exciting, and also I'm not chasing the excitement because that's what happens at this track.
yeah.
Is third
So
place takes the lead in turn 1.
is it then? Because I think we're putting 300 or 400 on the 3 or more race leaders too, though.
I'm starting a new page. Race
Yeah.
leaders plus minus 200. I guess I should check all these odds to make sure they didn't change. Yeah, that's 200. Lewis lead lap 1 was what? Plus 450. And then the Bottas, the Romeo DNF.
Yeah.
That's plus 150. I'm not sure I love the Lewis podium.
No, I would. That's redundant, I think, in some ways, just because of the top 10.
I'd rather just go on the top 10 now that
Yeah.
we've kind of put that in. Can you hear that when I'm typing? Yeah, probably.
Very low,
It's-
but
it's not too bad.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
Hmm. 300 on the Merc,
Mm-hmm.
so it wins 100.
Yeah.
What do we want to go higher on? The race leaders?
Well, I mean, no. Right? Like, no. Do I
Because
want
the
to
Merc is
because I
safer.
want better return, but
Because the
No.
Merc is the safer bet.
the Merc is a safer bet. They're 2 and 3, and they have to finish the race. They're going to be in the top 10. It's essentially you're just betting them to classify. Like,
We have one of our loyal viewers. I don't know if he's one of the few guys that checked in with us today, but
Yeah.
always makes a comment how he loves that we start up here, and then at the end of the day, we're just like, okay, let's bring it in, calm it down a little bit, make some money.
it's like it's like
Shout out Steve.
we're making spirits, man. We're making spirits. We're distilling it all, right? We just over a period of time we distill the information, and we end up with what I think are probably some pretty good bets. I mean, I think it's going to be 4, no more. Maybe it is 5. I don't know.
500, 200.
No, more than 2 though.
Yeah, more than 2.
5-3, 5-3. I mean, those 2 flyers are they?
The
are they-
Lewis should be $50.
The Lewis should be $50. Is the Alpha 100? Yeah, so maybe that's 150, and then we do 350, 500. I mean, I feel a lot better than I did 20 minutes ago.
Bringing in the Merc top 10 is just...
I don't think we can avoid it. Like, it's just, we had some, yeah. It's just, I don't know. Everything pointed to. We thought they were going to perform well, but you don't want to overvalue their finishing position, even though they're 2 and 3. What this does do is stick to the core concepts that we've been betting with this
Yeah,
entire time
Yes.
on a track that reflects, the very worst possibilities in terms of, again, finishing, power unit failure, the battle of attrition. You just take the most reliable vehicle and you give them a lot of you give them a lot of leeway. We've given them a tremendous amount of leeway. The only concern that we had was, two drivers and two competing to win the race. But I mean, they've been in this position before many times, and they haven't taken each other out. So I'm knocking on wood when I say that, right? I think it's a good bet. It
Lewis
always
around the outside, turn 1. He's got the downforce in sector 2 to maintain that lead, and he crosses the finish line lap 1.
I like the bet.
Do we want it to be 100? I don't know why. The Romeo DNF kind of feels like it's so well justified, the altitude, but it feels like more of a stretch almost than the Lewis.
A hundo and a hundo. Do a hundo and a hundo. Just do it. I like your lean. This is a lean. It's fine. If it doesn't come through, it doesn't come through. It is what it is.
And then where do I take the 50 out of then?
You take it from. So it was. We did.
We did 350, so that drops to 3, or do I go 450 for the Merc top 10?
No, I think it just ends up being 5, 3, 1, and 1. Is that what you want? Yeah, 5, 3, 1, and 1.
So if he leads the first lap and they both are in the top 10, I think we're okay. But also are we double dipping too much on the leaders? Because it is. If Lewis leads the first lap, that's 2 out of 3 leaders. So now we're just looking for one more leader, and it would be a great day. Is it that simple? Is this too simple?
No, that's a good point to make. Or is that just our bets are falling in line with what we think is going to happen, which is how you should bet?
That's just how it's going to be.
Is that just you just bet with?
And again,
what you
I
think
work
is gonna
hard
happen?
not to focus. It's so easy to be like, turn 1 is this, and that's going to determine the whole race. But it is kind of how this one goes. Turn 1, we started off by saying what's unique about this track. Altitude's unique, and that run into turn 1, it's the longest on the calendar. So we should kind of focus on it.
Should you not have 2 bets that reflect that? And then in the end, what we have is you have, 2 bets that reflect that are Lewis to be leading. Like you sprinkle on that because that's a factor.
It's a sprinkle. Yeah.
It might not work out, but it is something that we talked about, and like you said, it's a unique characteristic of this track. So you sprinkle on that. And the other thing that we talked about is how altitude affects reliability, and then you have a bet that reflects that, which is you have 2 bets that reflect that, which is you fade the worst reliability and you bet on the best reliability. So then, really, in the end, what the question mark bet is why do we think there's going to be 2 or more race leaders? But we've talked about that too, because there's
3 or more, but yeah,
3 or more race leaders, but because that there's still, I guess, an open interpretation of what the optimal race strategy is going to be.
That's the cherry. I mean, everything you just said, reliability could lead to another leader.
Totally.
Turn 1.
So reliability. Yeah. So this is okay. We're just re-justifying all of our bets. This is good though. Like, so you've got the what is the optimal race strategy is a big question. You've got the turn 1 factor, which would influence race leaders. You've also got the fact that we think that there's more of a competitive, there's a smaller competitive gap between essentially Red Bull and Mercedes, right? So all of those things would seem to suggest. And we really haven't
talked about the Ferrari, but they could lead this race.
Oh, without a doubt, like that exists as a possibility, right?
And so, final little double check: the Mercedes to classify is 400 minus 400 instead of top 10 is minus 300.
Yeah,
I like the top 10.
I don't think it makes sense to lose.
Damage before, stayed in the top 10.
Yeah, they've been. I wouldn't. So would you? I wouldn't be remiss if we, if one of them finished 11th, and we go, oh, why wouldn't we take them just to classify? Like, I don't
think. That's a good question. Have either of them finished? Oh, okay.
No, George in Singapore was. But that doesn't count.
14. But he started 11. He didn't start at 2.
Yeah, but that was a weird. Yeah, he's starting 2.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So
I like it. 5, 3, 1, 1.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good. Well, we're good. That was a longer than normal discussion, but I feel good. I feel good.
Consistently, people tell me this is a hard one to predict.
Yeah,
It's a very,
I feel
very unique track,
it is. I feel good.
unique grid.
Yeah, I feel good. This is I really, even halfway through this discussion, I was still swimming. Like, what do we like? What's the right way to go here? What's the direction? But we're sticking with, again, the core values
what
that
it
we've been
is.
betting on. Plus we see the race playing out the same way, and I'm quite happy with where we are.
We've been Hungary, Mercedes top 10 hit, like all these Mercedes top 6 hit, Mercedes top 10 hit, Mercedes both classify hit, both Merc top 6 hit. I'm not gonna say it. We went back to what we know,
Yeah, right.
and that's a good thing.
I agree. All of the logic that we've discussed would seem to point us in this direction. We're not taking. I think we're minimizing risk, which is something that we try to do, right?
Yeah. Okay, that's gonna do it for the live portion. We're gonna do our little break and then hop in the segment studio. Thank you for tuning in for the. We got 2 people. Thank you, 2 people.
Wow.
We're on a break. The next race is November 11th for the Brazil Grand Prix. It's a sprint race, so keep an eye on the Twitter and the Instagram because we'll have to figure out if we're gonna do some stuff on the sprint.
Might do a little
Grand
something.
Grand
Yeah.
Prix. Keep
Yeah,
an
I
eye
like that.
out
Yeah.
at F1000 on all socials.